When Cloud Functions 2.0 came out last month, we got access to a whole bunch of cool new features, such as a Node 8 runtime, custom memory and region settings, and the ability to use Puppeteer in the Cloud Functions environment. Today we're going to put all these new features to use so we can server-side render pretty much any JavaScript application from a Firebase function. If you're new to the channel, like and subscribe, and if you want to get really good at Cloud Functions, consider becoming a pro member to get access to the Cloud Functions Master course. So one of the major benefits of the new Node 8 runtime in Cloud Functions is that it allows us to run Puppeteer and Headless Chrome. Headless Chrome is just a web browser that can run on your server, and Puppeteer is a high-level API allowing you to interact with the browser. It's very intuitive to use, and you get direct access to the DOM on the rendered page, so you can use it for things like web scraping, server-side rendering, end-to-end testing, performance benchmarking, and probably a whole bunch of other things as well. If we go back to episode 66, we used an app called RenderTron to server-side render an Angular application. But one of the major drawbacks to that approach is that we needed to build and maintain our own Docker container. In this video, we'll build an app that's equivalent to RenderTron, but on a Firebase Cloud function. I'm going to be building this function in an Ionic 4 project, but you can build it by itself or with any other JavaScript framework. The Cloud Functions backend is completely agnostic to your front end. If you're in a brand new project, run Firebase init functions, and then I've selected the TypeScript option. And it's very important that you're up to date on the latest version of Firebase tools because all this stuff is very new. From there, we'll cd into the functions directory, and then we'll need to set up Node.js version 8 as the runtime. Open the package.json, create an object called engines, then set node to a string value of 8. Then another thing you'll want to do if you're using TypeScript is add the DOM lib to your tsconfig. This is purely for tooling, and it will just give us autocomplete on anything related to the DOM that we're doing inside of Puppeteer. And the last piece of setup is to install Puppeteer with npm. You'll notice that downloads Chromium, which is over 100 megabytes in size, and Chrome in general requires a higher memory allocation than the typical 250 megabytes that you would find in a function, so we're going to beef that up in the next step. Let's go ahead and open up the index.ts file, and then we'll import Puppeteer in addition to Firebase functions. The first thing I want to show you is how to visit a page with Puppeteer, serialize the HTML to a string, then send that as the response from the function. But the first thing we'll do is set up our function to run with at least 1 gigabyte of memory. Then after that, we can set up our HTTP function, which will be on request, giving us a request and response object, which we can also make an async function. The very first thing you'll do with Puppeteer is create a browser instance, which you can do with Puppeteer launch. And then there's a number of different configuration options that you can pass into launch. In this case, we'll run in headless mode, and I also found that you need the no sandbox flag for this to work properly. So that's the equivalent of opening up a browser. The next thing we'll do is create a new page, which can be thought of as the equivalent of a new tab in the browser. And everything in Puppeteer is async, so you'll notice that I'm awaiting all of these methods. The next step is to navigate to an actual URL. In this case, I'm navigating to the Ionic app that I built, which is just a very simple set of pages. When you navigate to a page, it's going to execute all the JavaScript, and you can control how long Puppeteer waits. In this case, I'm setting it to network idle 0, which just means it'll wait for network requests to be idle for 500 milliseconds and then render the page there. At this point, there's all kinds of different things we can do. We might want to scrape content from the page. We might want to inject jQuery and make manipulations to it. We can take a screenshot and do pretty much anything else you can do in a regular web browser. But if you just need the rendered content, which is all we need here, we can say await page.content, and then we'll send that as the response from this HTTP function. Now we'll go ahead and serve this function and see if it's rendering the meta tags that we have set up on our front-end application. So I'm using an Ionic 4 app here, which has an interesting caveat with web components. Anything that uses the shadow DOM is really hard to serialize back to regular HTML. So in this demo, we're only going to use Puppeteer to render meta tags so we can display our content on social media sites like Facebook and Twitter. But that's really only a concern if your app uses the shadow DOM, because basically what we've built here is a proxy browser that allows us to visit a web page without technically visiting that web page on our own browser. Right now I'm looking at the rendered content for AngularFirebase.com, but I never actually went to this website. Instead I went to the Cloud Functions middleman, which rendered the page with Puppeteer on the server and then sent me that serialized content as the response. So you basically now have server-side rendering for any website on the internet. But things aren't quite that simple in the real world. In the full source code for this project, I've ported over the render code from RenderTron, which handles a lot of the little things that you'll need to do when rendering pages. Things like setting the base href for your static resources, handling errors, loading polyfills for web components, and stuff like that. Now, the last thing I want to do is rewrite our functions so we can set up server-side rendering with Firebase hosting. So we'll import the serialize function from RenderTron. Then we'll set up an app URL, which is the location of where your app is deployed on Firebase hosting, or it might be localhost 5000 for local testing. Then we'll write a cloud function specifically for rendering pages with Puppeteer. This first render function is going to look almost identical to the one that we just wrote, but instead of using page content, we'll use our serialize method so we have a little more sophisticated rendering process. And for this endpoint, we'll allow the render URL to come through as a query parameter, meaning it can be passed directly through the URL. And the serialize method will respond with the page content as well as a status code, which we can just go ahead and send back as the response from this function. The next function we'll write is called SSR for server-side rendering, and we're going to configure our hosting account to reroute all requests to this function endpoint. Then what we want to do is determine whether or not the request is coming from a bot or a human. If it's a bot, we're going to want to render all of the content on the server so we have the meta tags and any other dynamic content loaded into the page. I have a list of common bots here, and then we can see the bot on the request by looking at the user agent header. Then I'll run a filter on our list of bots to see if there's any from this list included in the user agent header. So if the length is 0, then we know we're not dealing with a bot, but if it's greater than 0, we know that we should render this page with Puppeteer. If the user agent is a bot, which would happen if someone posted this link in social media, then we want to go ahead and render the page fully with RenderTron. We can do that by calling the render function that we created previously that handles all the Puppeteer stuff. So we'll just go ahead and await the response from that endpoint, which should be the serialized content from the page. Then we can take that HTML and send it as the response body from this function. Otherwise, we want to just fetch the root URL from the hosting account and send that as the response back. A single page application will get this response and handle the URL client side, so it'll behave just as if the user visited this page normally on a regular hosting account. You can either deploy this function or run it locally. Then at this point, I'm assuming that you already have a Firebase hosting account set up. And if so, you'll have it set up as a single page application that looks something like this, where you're routing the source to an index.html file. We're going to go ahead and change that to a function and have it route to the SSR function that we just wrote. Then the final step is to run Firebase deploy, which will deploy both the functions and the hosting for your client-side app. And as a normal visitor to your app, you shouldn't really notice any major changes, but only if you post to a link bot such as Slack or Twitter or whatever. It should intercept that request and display the meta tags necessary for rich social media cards. So that's how you set up Puppeteer in a cloud function, and we're really just barely scratching the surface. There's all kinds of cool things you can do, one of which is the Headless Chrome crawler, which is an open source project built on top of Puppeteer that allows you to iterate over the links in a web page, run jobs in parallel, export to CSV, and a bunch of other advanced stuff. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. If you want to see more advanced Puppeteer content, leave me a comment down below. And if you want to take your development to the next level, consider becoming a pro member at angularfirebase.com. You'll get unlimited access to all pro content, as well as my full courses, and a free copy of my book. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.